Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Razan Pereira. Ganga, the 2,600-kilometer long trans-boundary river of India, has witnessed unprecedented low levels of water in several lower reaches in the last few summer seasons. This is as per a study undertaken by a professor of IIT Kharagpur. Abhijit Mukherjee, Associate Professor, Environmental Science and Engineering at IIT Kharagpur, along with researcher Saumendra Nath Bhanja from Canada and Yoshihide Wada from the International Institute for Applied Systems Analysis, Austria, found out that the drying of the river in the recent years during the summer seasons was possibly related to the groundwater depletion in the Gangetic aquifers. The study has found that the summer water flow in the river is severely depleted, so much so that there may be hardly any flow in the non-monsoon months in large stretches of the river from Varanasi to Kolkata in the coming years. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will analyze how to replenish the mighty Ganga. Joining me on the program today are Rajiv Ranjan Mishra, Director General, National Mission for Clean Ganga, Ministry of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation. Also joining us on the program, Shushmita Sen Gupta, Program Manager, Water Program, Center for Science and Environment, and Vimlendu Jha, Founder, Swecha. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. Mr. Mishra, let me begin the program with you. Why is the Ganga drying up? What is the issue really and how do we address it?
You have put a very important question, which is a big challenge before the mission. The reason for less water in the river, we all know, is basically very large abstraction of water. I mean, you are talking about a research project and which is talking about a stretch, but I would like to tell you that right from Haridwar, downstream of Haridwar, we take out a very large quantity of water from the river for irrigation purpose through Upper Ganga Canal and then again Bijnor, Lower Ganga Canal. All that system is there, which has been there for a long time. So what happens, that is the stretch where a lot of water is taken out of the river, and perhaps we are not able to substitute that much of water. In the monsoon it's okay, but in the lean season that becomes a problem. And our mission has actually recognized this, and then we have put in the Namami Gange mission, which we talk, has a large number of components. Perhaps what is more visible or what people are seeing is cleaning part, like the sewer networks are being made, sewerage treatment plants are being made. That's also very important because the stretch where a lot of water has been taken out, that is also a stretch becomes very polluting because you have big cities like Kanpur, Allahabad and so many other highly populated cities. Due to urbanization, you also have much more population pressure on the river. So we have to also concentrate upon unpolluted flow. So we actually we are also working very closely with the consortium of IITs on all these issues. So it's a group of 7 IITs, and based upon lot of their recommendations, only this mission has been conceptualized and its components are there. So unlike many previous missions which were completely focusing upon STPs and cleaning part, this mission has a very large component of fixing of the floodplain, recharging of the floodplain, finalizing an environmental flow. Now I think I will like to elaborate that later because that's something which is related with this particular subject. Then we have to also understand the nature of this river, which is quite complex in technical as well as hydrologically. When we look at this particular research which you have referred, of course, our mission has tried to get in touch with the professor and get a copy and then have a further dialogue with him. But primarily the research is focusing upon groundwater. What we call base flow, because out of the groundwater, how much water goes to the river and that is coming down. We are aware of that, but the river flow is dependent upon groundwater plus so many other factors also, like rainfall, and through that rainfall what comes. There is a small component of glacial flow also, because this is also a glacial river. So we are looking holistically upon all of them, and then very soon we hope that the environmental flow, because there has been a lot of experts, different committees, lot of difference of opinion about what should be the right environmental flow.
Right.
And so that's, I think the final report has come, and very soon we will be able to fix that regime.
Okay. Let me bring in Shushmita Sen Gupta now. Shushmita Sengupta, on the one hand, you have a situation where you have floods. For instance, what we are witnessing in Kerala over the last 2 weeks. On the other hand, you have several regions in this country which go through drought. Many a times, the same regions which are flooded also go through drought in the non-monsoon season as well. So how can we balance this out in some way, so as to ensure that we have a balance in the monsoon season and in the non-monsoon seasons as well?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. As you have said, that the same place is actually facing the drought as well as facing the flood. Now the main problem is with the unplanned urbanizations. So what is happening, the planners, they are not looking beyond the land. So they consider the water bodies also as a part of the land. So what happens is they are encroached and polluted. So whatever flood you are seeing in urban India today is majorly because of this encroachment and pollution of the water bodies which get clogged. So what happens, the rain comes and it's not recharged through the water bodies, which are big recharge bodies in the cities, and as a result the flood is caused, and then the rain goes away and we all cry about the groundwater level because it is not recharged. So this is why the whole problem of urbanization is leading to drought and flood in the same place.
Okay, Vimalendra Jha, now how bad is the situation? Because there was a Niti Aayog report, a report by a government body a couple of months ago, which stated that India is suffering from the worst water crisis in its history. And then you have several other reports talking about the Ganga. We call it, North India's lifeline. We call it a perennial river. And then you have these reports that suggest that it's drying up. How bad is the situation?
The situation is extremely critical because we have the government that is actually the custodian of our environment, the custodian of our river bodies, telling us that there's no water. So it's not somebody else's imagination or independent study. We have Niti Aayog telling us that we are going to run out of water. Central Groundwater Board tells us that in and around Delhi, almost all our groundwater is over. 90% of groundwater is in critical condition in Delhi NCR. If you look at Central Pollution Control Board, again a government body, tells us that the entire Ganga, as the entire stretch of the river, the water quality is E-class, which means that it's not even fit for animal bathing, it's only fit for industrial cooling. So we are actually talking about a very, very critical condition. We are trying to get into an era, 10 years or 15 years or perhaps sooner than that, because people are saying that Delhi is going to get into a Cape Town moment in like another 2 years or 3 years when we will not have water, water will be rationed, and that's already happening, and there will be war that everywhere around water that we're talking about. Now, when this information is something which is not new, 86 is when there is a PIL that is going on, there's a public interest litigation that is going on in the Supreme Court. There has been a Ganga action plan and a Yamuna action plan and the other action plans, several plans that have actually been made. There is a new jacket called Namami Gange, which of course yet again says that this time we are going to clean it. Of course, the target was earlier 2018, now it's 2019, then again it's 2020. These are new targets to clean the river. On ground, we haven't really seen it. At the end of the day, for me as a citizen and for me as an environmentalist, I will only verify one part of the government is telling me that you're going to run out of water. The other part of government is actually saying that we are going to clean your water. We don't see these two arms perhaps talking at several occasions because the measuring body is saying that water is bad. This body is saying we have fixed it. One body, as in within the Namami Gange, as in what I was reading online, for example, there have been several task forces that's been made in the last 4 years. One thing very beautifully that this body has done is made several task forces. Every 1 year, there's a new committee, sometimes by a cabinet minister, sometimes by a cabinet secretary is ahead, then the Minister of Water Resources ahead, then there will be a new minister. There was another body that was actually formed in September 2016.
Okay.
Imagine there's not been a single meeting that we're talking about. So for me, as in my sense of pain and paradox comes from the fact that yes, it is very, very important, and not because we have a right-wing government or a left-wing government in power. It's very, very important to clean our rivers and have a beautiful Ganga, because 500 million people depend on it. 50% of the poorest people that we actually talk about in our country
taken. Let me take the points that you're making to Mr. Mishra and let him respond to what you have said point by point. Mr. Mishra, a point by point rebuttal, is saying that, of course, there is a body, there is a task force, but it isn't doing its job as it's supposed to, is what he's suggesting.
I will certainly like to explain certain things. See, when we talk about river cleaning, first of all, let me tell, there is nothing like shifting of targets and target year. This mission was approved in 2015 May. It's very clear that no untreated water, I am talking of sewage, will go into the river by December 2020. So that has been the target. When we talk of 2018, 2019, please understand we are trying to expedite. And when anyone talks that we will do 60–70% of the work, that is not fixing or scheduling or delaying the target. It's basically trying to do it faster, trying to give the target to the states. Please also understand, Namami Ganga is a central scheme. It does not mean that it is to be done 100% by Government of India. Ultimately, all the works gets done by the urban local body and state government. I fully agree when the other panelists made a point about urban planning. See, lot of these issues are relating with the urban planning, how you deal with your river when you do the town planning. So that's a very important thing, how you plan for a river which is in the urban area. So what is perhaps required is urban river management plan, and in this mission we are also looking at that. I will very quickly tell you about some of the achievements or some of the things we have done.
It's good to take stock.
Yes, so let's just take a stock.
Yes.
First of all, let me tell you, this is not an easy mission. I mean, anyone who thinks it's to be done in a year or 2 years and then we will be able to do it, it's not. It's a very, very complicated problem. Multi-stakeholder, multi-sector is involved in this. Now, when we took over in 2015, we thought that, okay, I mean, flow is one side, that's an important thing, and then flow is related with the agriculture, how you convince farmers about cropping pattern, water use efficiency. These are not problems which have happened suddenly. Now, I will focus upon the pollution part first. When we took over, we took a stock of so many STPs were made under Ganga Action Plan, Jamuna Action Plan, various previous schemes. We found 84. Out of those 84, we have a capacity of something like 1500 MLD. Let me tell you, in the Ganga, we have a total sewerage generation of 3000 MLD roughly. I am giving you a rough figure. It's yes. 2900 and 550, but I will try to give you the general thing. So 1500, we thought that we should take a condition assessment. Then we realized that many of these STPs are not working. Why they are not working? Because people did not have money to pay for O&M charge. Government of India constructed, went away, states or the ULVs did not have even the budget to pay the electricity bill. So what we have done in the design of this program, we have done the conditional assessment of all those things and we are rehabilitating. So roughly 800, we found that 800 MLD we have to rehabilitate, 700 are working well. Then we have taken up new projects and then we are going to create around 2000 MLD capacity. So that will take care of the sewerage generation up to 2035, number one. Number two, we took a policy decision that let us make this entirely Government of India funded program. Because for 10%, 30% state share, lot of delay used to take place in settling of tenders and other things. And then as a part of project, we are giving 15-year O&M. Because then we are also ensuring that we are not just making, we are also running these plants. And then we have introduced from 2017 onwards the concept of PPP, hybrid annuity we have brought into this. That is to basically ensure that the players who are constructing, they will also be maintaining it and they will get only 40% during construction, 60% they will get when they maintain it well.
Right.
So, I mean, there is a lot of efficiency which has been brought into that. We are improving the governance by going for some of the major cities like Kanpur, Allahabad, making one city, one operators. So that ultimately there will be one person or one agency which will be responsible for maintenance of all these things.
Right.
It's not one thing just to construct the STPs and leave it. You have to run it. You have to see that they work at the optimal capacity. And then many places we are looking for septage, like we are also working with CAC to develop septage management, because a small places you don't require to invest so much. Decentralized STPs, bioremediation. So we are trying to have all these things together.
Right. Yes, Suplendra.
Yeah, so my point is that of course it's a complex task and nobody is saying that it could be achieved in year 1 or year 2, but Unfortunately, we are not sitting in 1988, which is 2 years after 86. We are sitting in 2018, which is 30 years that has actually gone into this. And therefore, we as taxpayers, we as people who are at the receiving end of this crisis that we're talking about, we have every right to ask the government that not 2 years, but 28 to 30 years has passed. Is there some problem in our governance? Because there must be. Because we have actually, as a country, solved several complex problems. And when we talk about inefficiency of in terms of governance, or when we say that there is something wrong in planning or in this entire mission, this is not me saying this. This is 3 bodies called CAG. This is just 1 second. We are talking about the Supreme Court of India. We talk about National Green Tribunal. We talk about Controller and Auditor General of our country saying that money is not being spent properly. Money is not being spent enough. As in 2,000 crores, 15% was what was spent till last year. And this entire thing of goalposts that we're talking about, the target is to clean the river by 60 to 70% is what Mr. Gadkari is saying. The target is not necessarily to spend the money, but they're looking at this entire thing. Clean Ganga mission is not to spend Ganga mission money. It's about actually cleaning the river. Right now, after 4 years, when we're talking about one of the targets that Sir was talking about, is that not a single drop of wastewater or municipal wastewater should actually get into the river. Why Central Pollution Control Board in a rainy month coming up with a report like this saying that in a rainy month when there is enough flow, still the coliform levels are so high? Imagine, and the river and the situation is only going to get better, is better right now during monsoon. It's going to get worse. So I'm saying that sense of urgency is not there somewhere. We have, our government and our authorities have actually failed us 3 decades across governments. Things haven't worked. So therefore, let's not put it under the carpet and say things are working. If things were working 30 years, our bureaucracy is efficient. Our bureaucrats can do things. They have dug up the entire city and have made a beautiful metro right now. We are talking about the great things. And also, are we addressing? I think that there is a problem in the way we look at the problem.
Right.
Minimum flow. You know that there's less water. You know,
I think it's a legacy problem. It's a heritage problem. We tend to take water for granted in this country.
Absolutely.
If you look at it, there are several ad campaigns that have been run about how people waste water and how we should teach our children to, in fact, conserve and save water. That's something that we can probably talk about later. But joining me now on the phone line is Abhijit Mukherjee, Associate Professor, Environmental Science and Engineering, IIT Kharagpur, and lead author of the study that we were talking about earlier, of course. Abhijit Mukherjee, what were the findings of your study, and take us through the study itself.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm sorry that I'm not able to connect you to the Skype. So our study, like we did, along with my former scholar and my colleague from ISA, Australia, where we used a bunch of satellite data along with hydrological modeling to show that the river Ganges, or Ganga as we call it, it's drying up in the recent summer months in many of the reaches, starting from Varanasi to the Bay of Bengal in the Indian side. And what we found out is that people have been saying, people have noticed this, and people have been saying that much of the reason for this drying up in the summer months are possibly related to climate change, possibly human interaction, and so on. However, what we found out is that possibly one of the bigger reasons for such dry up is related to groundwater abstraction that is going on all across the Indus-Ganges basin. And when you are talking about groundwater abstraction, we are already aware of this. And people have been talking about the government of India has been planning a lot of schemes to rejuvenate the groundwater, and we have found that in some places it's working. However, in the Ganges basin, the thought is that there is enough water, and whatever groundwater you can take out doesn't matter. Unfortunately, what we are finding out that pumping out this unsustainable volume of groundwater is actually depleting the river, what you call the groundwater inflow to the river, or the base flow. And this base flow has decreased for more than 50% of what it was before 1970s, which is when pumping started in the Indian subcontinent. And what we predict through our modeling data and our clinical data, that in the next 20 to 30 years, this base flow would decrease even further to 25%, adding up to a total of 75%, which is a pretty catastrophic number. Because
these are stark. Stark numbers that you're putting out. These are stark numbers that you're putting out. I want to understand, what is the methodology that you use to really come up with these conclusions?
Okay, so what we did is we ran a couple of hydrological modeling, very robust, internationally accepted hydrological modeling, and we also have like groundwater data available from the ministry websites, and we coupled this data along with our hydrological modeling and calculated out what is the volume of base flow or the groundwater inflow to the river that is coming in, and we found out that in all the instances it is going down by almost 50% as of today.
Okay, so what is the error margin really as far as your conclusions are concerned, plus or minus?
Give and take maybe 10%, not beyond that.
Okay. Okay, right. Now, let me go across to Shushmita Sen-Gupta now, who's been patiently listening to the other panelists thus far. Shushmita, as far as, the river flow is concerned, do you believe that irreparable damage has been done thus far?
Talking about abstraction, I don't want to restrict my whatever I am telling to the lower reaches. If you go to the upper reaches of Ganga, there is abstraction also because of the hydropower stations that is happening here, and which has actually created a havoc because there are extraction in the upper reaches. The fecal coliform, the upper reaches is considered to be pristine, because there is no much urbanization happening there, no much dumping of waste happening there. But what is happening, the Central Pollution Control Board data says that it is having high fecal coliform, and this is very alarming because wherever the extraction is happening, which is beyond the limit, the pollution level is affected, which means the pollution level is actually showing spikes. So extraction in some way is actually influencing the pollution level, and I should tell you, just like the water is necessary for dissolution of these pollutants, it is therefore necessary to have environmental flow in the river. Now whatever the scientists, the scientific discovery that has taken place through IIT Kharagpur, they are telling that the groundwater at these places feed into the river. There is a system, either the groundwater feeds into the river or the river feeds into the groundwater. There are two types of systems. So when they studied that these are the places where the groundwater is feeding the river water, and at these places extraction has taken place which was beyond the limit, and that is why the flow has reduced. But the flow is reduced for several other factors in other reaches also. Right.
Okay, time now to get closing comments from all my guests. Let's try and talk about solutions now over the next 5 minutes and see what we can come up with. Mr. Mishra, what can we do? Can we rejuvenate the river first and foremost, and how can we replenish the flow really?
See, you have to start, this particular report you said, we are also working with the consortium of IITs, and these kind of modeling for environmental flow also ultimately have to do the modeling, and we are working on that. To summarize what I have to tell you that we are working on a kind of composite solution. Long-term rejuvenation of the river will also require afforestation. So first time in this kind of mission, we have a huge component of afforestation and biodiversity conservation. We are working with MOEF and CC also to support us. Then groundwater is certainly a major issue. I don't say that that's not important. But we have also looked at the Ganga basin, and I think someone mentioned very rightly, we see a lot of water here, so that kind of urgency is not being felt by the users. See, the government can construct STP and pollution can be taken care of, but the way we use, the water use efficiency is less than 40% in these areas for agriculture. So we have to have a kind of, in the medium term, we have to look at the groundwater. Now groundwater, there is a lot of control and regulation for industrial use, commercial use. But if you look at major, almost 80% of groundwater goes for agriculture. So that is where the abstraction and water use efficiency we have to increase. They are all part of our mission. Rainwater harvesting. So a lot of urbanization related issues are also there where other people will have to join. I would like to say that as far as infrastructure development for anti-pollution measures are concerned, we are on the right track and speed has really picked up, and then we will be able to do quite a lot of things. As far as long-term measures are concerned, we will have to build the consensus, and I really thank all others who are raising this kind of sense of urgency. They will all help us to convey this thing to the farmers, to convey it to the people for water conservation, improve water use efficiency, change in cropping pattern which is required. And not only that, I think it's also going to help us in building a consensus to having a good urban river management plan, which Madam also referred very nicely. Flood and drought both take place. We have a huge priority for developing of water body, conservation of water body. Again, states, wherever they have given priority, they can really mobilize people.
Okay.
We want to mobilize people in this like a movement and everyone to join it. So that
the Ganga ultimately, or all the rivers are our rivers, and it is up to us, the stakeholders, all of us really to do something about them and save them at the end of the day. Viplendu Jha, we are a monsoon dependent nation at the end of the day, and we run because of the monsoon. Shouldn't we then take some steps as far as monsoons are concerned and preserve that water? Of course, there are, many people are talking about rainwater harvesting and so on and so forth, but something else too needs to be done on that front, really, to make full use and utmost use of a monsoon.
Absolutely, and that's the paradox that we're talking about, that, India doesn't have water, and India is dying because of extra water that we see right now that's happening in Himachal, the floods that you talk about, Himachal, Assam, Kerala, Karnataka, Goa, in several areas. Now, your main question, that is it possible to clean the river? Yes, it is possible to clean Ganga. One. Two, there's no other option, but you have to clean the Ganga, because your 500 million people depend directly for their drinking water. But the only way we can solve this, and that's the last concluding statement that I want to make, the only way you can solve this problem is when you actually have a holistic plan. If your flood control department, imagine 50% of land, the agriculture that we're talking about in the Indo-Gangetic Plain is because of irrigation network, and 50% is without irrigation network, and that is where your most of your extraction, groundwater table extraction is happening. All of Punjab and Haryana that you're talking about depends on tube wells and groundwater table extraction in many, many ways. And of course, there are these canals that we're talking about. Unless and until we have a holistic plan, a comprehensive plan where we look at energy, when we look at hydroelectric power plants, when we look at municipal bodies, when we look at, like, Swachh Bharat is not just about creating toilets, but also making sure that that toilet or the excreta from the toilet should not actually end up going to the river.
Right.
So you can have more toilets, and if all of that excreta is going to the river, then you're actually cleaning one thing and dirting another, and that's the paradox that we're talking about.
Holistic approach going forward is what you're suggesting. We have to have a comprehensive plan. Abhijit Mukherjee, your study speaks about how there's a depletion really of water in the Ganga. Does your study also talk about what's the way forward? What needs to be done to replenish it?
Well, not in this paper, but in a previous paper that we published a few months back, we showed that Gujarat and Andhra Pradesh as very sticking out examples where we work with NASA to find out that in Gujarat and Andhra Pradesh, which are water-stressed areas, groundwater-stressed areas, because of groundwater management by local to government agencies, the groundwater has actually rejuvenated, and it has rejuvenated to an extent that water level is now rising for the last few years. So the water storage is increasing. So it is not impossible. It's still a scenario where we can bring back the water, restored to the original condition. But we need, as my fellow panelists said, we need a very comprehensive, holistic plan by which we can understand both the groundwater and the river water and rejuvenate the whole system.
All right, there's a silver lining at the end of the day. There is still time to change, but the time to act is now. We really need to do something at this very moment. All right, closing comment now from Shushmita Sen-Gupta. Shushmita, what's the best way forward?
I should say that water and wastewater should not be seen in different angles. There should be a water-waste connection. End of the day, 80% of water that we use is converted into wastewater. So it's time that we think of reusing and recycling every drop of wastewater that we produce, and that will help us move towards a sustainable water management.
All right, there is water at the end of the day. We see it all around us. It is just about time that we learn to use it, judiciously, and also use it the right way. That's what's coming out of this debate. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on the program, putting things into perspective for us. That's it on this edition of The Big Picture. See you again next time.